Welcome to another episode of Learn With Us,
where we watch videos that will make you a better person,
and
hopefully us.
hopefully all of us together.
I'm Mitch.
I'm Tess.
And I'm Eli. Today we're watching a video called How to Make Your Life Exciting Again.
Many people who become addicted to things have this feeling that normal life isn't interesting enough.
I think that life for humans has always been hard, but I think that now it's harder in unprecedented ways. And I think that the way that life is really hard now is that it actually is really boring. And the reason that it's boring is because all of our survival needs are met. I mean, we don't even have to leave our homes to meet every single physical need. You know, as long as you're of a certain...
Yesterday, we were hanging out. We were going on a walk, and we were going to walk a dog because Tess was dog sitting for a friend. So we walked this dog, and then afterwards, I needed to get my sleeping bag and my pillow from my car that was on a different street. And I was like, should we just all kind of wait until we put the dog away and then we can all walk together? And then Mitch goes like, no, go on your own, go get it, and we'll meet you at the house. And then immediately after I left, I started having fun. And I was like, you know what's fun about this? Not leaving you guys. What was fun about it? What was fun about it was this feeling of like, I have a mission.
Yeah!
I'm like,
huzzah!
I just need to like go on my own in the dark in a city that I don't know too well. Get to my car. It's not a huge thing happening.
But you know the mission.
Side
it's
quest.
really clear.
And I love that what she just said about like when your survival needs are all met. So many of your side quests, your little missions every day don't exist
or don't feel like meaningful or whatever
Or necessary.
This was a hot start for me.
Hot start.
Like the first lines, I was like, I feel like you and I were just talking about stuff like this the other day.
Yeah.
Of like overstimulation and how I was actually thinking about it, how you came across some sort of something where somebody was saying that to reset yourself, do very boring things.
Yeah, do like 2 hours a day of something that is utterly boring to you. Reset your baseline so that there is no dopamine input, and then your baseline will be that much lower, and you will be reset and find normal daily to-dos a lot more interesting.
Is that what a dopamine detox is? I've heard that word a bunch.
I don't know, but it sounds right up that alley.
Yeah.
I actually thought a decent amount about what you said there the other day and felt a very different way about it. I didn't like, there was something that didn't feel quite right about just doing boring things to reset yourself. And I think it's because my experience has been that whenever I go for big stimuli things, like being on my phone or oftentimes electronics or something, or just like always having something in my ear or needing to do something, it's oftentimes because I feel this huge lack. And I've never thought that that was a bad thing, that I should want less, if that makes sense. And that whenever I feel like purposeful in my day and I have things to do and they mean a lot, or I have like really good times carved out for like relaxation in my day and I'm getting good social time, I just don't go on my phone, or I don't seek other stimuli, because I'm very, in my eyes, properly, like I'm operating as a like complete human should operate.
So you're almost saying like rather than a dopamine detox per se, you should instead just be shifting what you're focusing on to things that are more purposeful.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to need these like dopamine hits throughout your day that help you get along.
I'm saying that that's been my experience.
That's your experience.
Yeah, that whenever I've tried to like do anything else, it just like doesn't really work.
Like if I were to say, Mitch, you get to change one thing about society to fix this issue.
Yeah.
You would say, let's try to give people more purposeful things to do throughout their day.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that then phone and electronic use and the addiction to that is largely can become obsolete. Yeah.
There's something that KRS-One says when KRS-One's like one of my favorite teachers of all time. Genius guy, you should watch him. But one of the things he says is, in order for our society to evolve, we don't need to destroy the current system. We need to make it irrelevant.
Bars.
Yo!
You just need to have a thing that's so much better than why the hell would you do the
cool.
last thing? Let's go.
That is
Hey.
universal bars.
Shout out
That is
to KRS-One.
that is quite exactly
The man's
what
a genius.
I was trying to say.
Good.
Yeah, that exact thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Shout out
Yep.
KRS-One.
Hot start.
Certain level of financial well-being. If you look at leisure time, for example, so people without a high school education have 42% more leisure time than people with a college degree. My point here is that life is hard now in this really weird way, in that we don't really have anything that we have to do. So we're all forced to make stuff up, whether it's being a scientist or being an Olympic athlete or, climbing Mount Everest. And people really vary in their need for friction. And some people need a lot more than others. And if they don't have it, they're really, really unhappy. And I do think that a lot of the people that I see with addiction and other forms of mental illness are people who need more friction. Like, they're unhappy, not necessarily because there's something wrong with their brain, but because their brain is not suited to this world. What's so pervasive in our narrative now is like, find your passion, and in a way that's good because it has people out in the world and seeking, but in a way it can also be misleading in the sense that I think people aren't entirely aware that the world is a hard place and that life is hard and that we're all kind of making it up. To me, one of the most significant findings in neuroscience in the last 75 years is that pleasure and pain are co-located, which means the same parts of the brain that process pleasure also process pain. And they work like a balance. So when we feel pleasure, our balance tips one way. When we feel pain, it tips in the opposite direction. And one of the overriding rules governing this balance is that it wants to stay level. So it doesn't want to remain tipped very long to pleasure or to pain. And with any deviation from neutrality, the brain will work very hard to restore a level balance, or what scientists call homeostasis. And the way the brain does that is with any stimulus to one side, there will be a tip in equal and opposite amount to the other side.
It's like a
Physics.
That made me think of this Zen Buddhist saying where they say, when something is good in life, don't try to hold it closer, and when something's bad in life, don't try to push it away. And it almost feels like they recognized the fact that your mind will try to even the scale no matter what. So if you're really trying to pull something towards you, you're also going to be causing a lot of pain at the same time. Whereas you can learn to and that I think that doesn't mean to numb out and not experience the highs and lows of life, but instead to experience the highs and lows of life and let them come through you, let the whole experience happen. And just don't pull it in a certain direction.
I also feel like I actually experience less pleasure when I feel like I have this vice grip on it. And that's been a huge thing that I've been growing on is not, not just waiting for not trying to create the perfect scenario, which is so hard. But the perfect scenario where you're the thing that you really, really, really want, and just manipulating that, because there's so many variables in life. You could make plans with someone, and that could be the thing you're most excited about in the week. And it's so hard not to get so stoked about it. But there is... Not that you shouldn't get so stoked about it, but it's more that... that like when you all of a sudden, like if plans start to shift and you try and like recenter it like by gripping it, and you're like, no, it needs to be like this because I was so excited for this, and like, you know, it all makes sense, but it's like there is such pain in that too. Yeah, and it feels, I actually feel more pleasure when I just let it all just kind of happen, and then it'll just like rush right through me in a like quicker way, in a more intense way, and it's way better. Yeah.
This whole conversation also makes me think about a recent dialogue we've had about emotional range and homeostasis and antidepressants.
This is your baseline happiness, then this is like happy, this is sad.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people try to experience more of the positive emotions without accounting for the fact that they have to also experience the negative ones too. And so it's like chasing the pleasure and the happiness and not realizing that the pain is also expanded upon too. And antidepressants simply decrease that range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which might be helpful at times. Like, I think that's a difficult thing for me with the whole topic of antidepressants is like, and all topics in general. I want to have the objective answer, and then sometimes I like know some people who antidepressants like saved their life.
Yeah.
And then later in life maybe they were able to get off them or whatever it was. But like, yeah, it's interesting to understand that those types of things happen, or like sometimes in life, like personally I have gone through phases of my life, we were talking about this the other night, where like I shrank everything because I couldn't handle all the emotions that were going on, and it felt like it had to happen, although I feel like the ultimate thing you want to do is to be able to expand it again. And that reminds me of something my sister was saying recently about Tantra. The whole idea of tantric practices, which is, I think, a form of yoga. Is that, I don't know if Tantra's from the yogic traditions or whatnot, but it's pretty much like a lifestyle practice. And the idea is to not label sensations, but instead to fully experience sensations to the point where happiness and sadness, or pleasure and pain, can start to melt into more of the beauty of life is how enthralling and captivating this stimulation is. And like tapping more into that, I find also a very interesting thing.
I love that.
Shout out Tantra. We
Check
should
us out.
find some good Tantra videos. That'd
Yeah.
be cool.
If you know any cool Tantra videos or know anything about Tantra,
Hit
it's
us
a
up.
cool word that I've heard a bunch. That's all I know. A couple other things too, but yeah, give us a vid if you're interested.
Let's go.
Physics.
Yes, right. So like, I like to watch YouTube videos. When I watch YouTube videos of American Idol, it tips to the side of pleasure. And then when I stop watching it, I have a come down, right? Which is a tip to the equal and opposite amount on the other side. And that's that moment of wanting to watch one more YouTube video. And here's really the key. If I keep indulging again and again and again, ultimately I have so much on the pain side, right, that I've essentially reset my brain to what we call like an anhedonic or lacking in joy type of state, which is a dopamine deficit state. The way in which pain can become the main driver is because I've indulged so much in these high reward behaviors or substances that my brain has had to compensate by way down regulating my own dopamine, such that even when I'm not doing that drug, I'm in a dopamine deficit state, which is akin to a clinical depression. I have anxiety, irritability, insomnia, dysphoria, and a lot of mental preoccupation with using again or getting the drug. And so that's the piece there. There's the single use, which easily passes, but it's the chronic use that can then reset really our dopamine thresholds, and then nothing is enjoyable. So I think that is really what I want people to tune into and get an awareness around, because once you tune into it, you can see it a lot. And when you begin to see it, I think it gives people kind of a way to imagine what they're experiencing on a neurobiological level and understand it, and in that understanding get some mastery over it, which is really what this is all about.
Yo, yeah, that was cool.
She just spit some bars.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this strange thing that's kept coming to me in my experience when I spend time alone, especially in my room, which we're in. Oftentimes I'll come here like on a Friday or something, and sometimes for like a day or two, or even just a Friday night, I won't have a ton of really purposeful things to do. A big thing in my life is that there's been like a decent amount of stagnancy, like not a ton of things happening. It's been winter time, which is like things become more naturally stagnant, but that's also followed the path of my life right now, just for this winter. And I'll come home after like work or something, which I'm working just like really tough stuff right now, like just so unbelievably unfulfilling for me, and I'll just like want to just like sit on my phone or something for a while, and I will, and it'll be just like just as unfulfilling as the workday, and I'll do it very often. I'll spend a bunch of time on my phone here, and I feel like in the past that would really affect the course of like a lot of my day, and it would be like something that I couldn't get out of. But more recently, what's been interesting to me is that I'll get off my phone and I'll do a couple things, and I'll go for like a walk outside at night, and I'll like sometimes go out and meditate in the park at night or something like that. And I'll literally take a step outside, and within like a minute, I just feel awesome. It's like, it's such an interesting experience of needing so much stimulation to like not feel unfulfilled. I'm like on my phone, and then it feels like I should need such a high threshold all of a sudden. But then I step outside and I have no desire to have any sort of stimulation other than what's just around me, like going on my walk. Like I feel so stimulated, so open, so clear-headed all of a sudden. And it's been such a strange juxtaposition for me. It's just like so funny that I could feel like I'm doing such unconscious, like not doing anything good for me things, and then like 3 seconds later I'm doing like the best thing I could possibly doing for me, and that feels great. And it's like I'm just the same person throughout that. Like it's like the same day. It's so weird. Like it's just like, yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, I think a big like final takeaway that I had from that video is where this doctor, I want to check her name actually, Dr. Anna Lembke, Lembke. Cool person. But what she was saying there at the end of like that if you do a high dopamine activity once, it's very easy for your body to rebalance. But it's the consistent use.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about how I feel like the biggest thing we can do to make our daily lives better is not necessarily changing the things we're doing, but just change the quantity. And just like be a bit more like food. The first few bites of food taste so good, compared to the next entire meal. And what I've noticed a lot of times is like I'll overeat when I like want dopamine hits or whatever.
For sure, yeah.
And then, but the more that I can really just be like, I only need this one bowl of food, and I'm really gonna enjoy this one bowl of food, and then I can just like walk away and do the next activity. It's like the flow feels a lot nicer to me, and it's just, it's so easy to get like caught in the thing that's making you feel good. But I do like that she said like the thing can make you feel really good, and then it can balance out really quickly if you're just like, that felt really good, now I can kind of move. Do something new.
How do you guys think this concept applies to hobbies? Like hobbies that make us feel really good and experience big dopamine hits with this idea that they might become addictive, or you might experience a come down afterwards.
That's a great question. I think there's certain things. I think the things that make me feel best are things that after I do them, I feel better. And there's certain things where if I do them at certain points in the day, things that feel good for me, like a hobby, it won't be the right time of day to do it. And it's like not the right time to have like that experience.
Spike session.
Like a spike set. Yeah, something like that. Like, I was honestly thinking about like having sex. Like having sex like earlier in the day for me feels like something that there is a natural come down after, and that can feel very painful when I have to do a bunch of stuff later in the day or right after. But if it's at night and there's a come down, it feels so natural because it's nighttime and you chill.
And you can like chill and go to bed.
Chill and go to bed. Yeah. So that's like one of the things. Also something like spike ball earlier in the day or like early afternoon is really nice, but sometimes spike ball at night I get too amped up and I'm too like hyped up after, and then it doesn't feel like a natural go to bed. Yeah.
I know it's a big thing that Andrew Huberman talks about in general is your circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
And the rhythms of like your brain patterns too, like the frequency your brain goes at. I've been doing this thing where I wake up in the morning and immediately start working. And I found it super helpful. Like I get into like a work flow, work for probably like 2 hours, have breakfast, work for another 2 hours. And then by the time I've been awake for 4 hours, I feel like I've gotten more done than I do in an average, like if I tried to just work for 8 hours in a day. And it just feels like it's because I'm like in the flow of where my brain waves are at that time, where it's like high focus on very specific tasks. And then I think you can get a little bit caught up in that and it can make your life too rigid at times. But I do think it's really important to like observe yourself, observe the times of the day when you want to be social, the times of the day when it feels best to have sex, the times of the day when it feels best to eat food, and trust that your body actually knows those things for you, and that working with it, you're gonna have an easier just flow of day. Awareness. It's a key. Oh yeah, sun got bright in this episode.
Yeah, it did get bright.
Knowledge shining down.
Hello, knowledge.
Hey, knowledge. All right, everyone. Is there anything else you guys want to say? That was cool.
That was cool. Yeah.
It's a good 4.5 minutes.
That was
Packed a punch.
Packed a punch. Sometimes the quick videos don't. That did.
That hit.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Is there anything you feel like we missed?
Yeah.
That would be cool to hear about. We love hearing. Love learning.
Love learning.
Love learning.
Yeah, baby.
So learn with us.
Hey.
Until next time.
Peace and much love.